Jack looked up at the towering silver gates of the Century Palace, his heart beating fast. He had never imagined he would visit the royal home of the galaxy's most mysterious rulers. He adjusted the small package in his hand, a simple music box from Earth, and tried to hide his nervousness as alien guards with blue skin and glowing eyes watched him closely. Inside, the palace was more beautiful than anything Jack had seen. Glass trees stood in the hallways, their leaves shining like diamonds under the bright lights. Strange flowers floated in the air, filling the space with a gentle, sweet scent. Everything felt peaceful. Yet Jack knew this was not an ordinary visit. He was the last known human allowed here, and everyone in the galaxy knew that Century had avoided humans for a long time. A tall Century official with long, flowing robes led Jack to the throne room. The doors opened slowly, revealing Queen Seraphil seated on a shining throne, her silver crown glowing softly. She was regal and calm, but her golden eyes were sharp, watching Jack carefully as he entered. "Welcome, human." Queen Seraphil spoke, her voice smooth but strong. "Why do you come to Xenthar at such a time?" Jack bowed deeply, remembering the advice he had received before coming. "Your Majesty, I bring you a gift from Earth. It is a symbol of peace and memory." He stepped forward and placed the small old music box at her feet. The Queen's expression changed from curiosity to surprise. The court fell silent as she reached out, her long fingers brushing the dusty top of the box. With a careful twist, she opened it. A gentle, beautiful melody filled the throne room. The notes floated like magic in the air, simple and warm. Some of the Century nobles gasped quietly, and even the guards looked surprised. It was a sound that did not belong to this world. Queen Seraphil listened closely. For a moment, it seemed as if the years melted away from her face. She closed her eyes and let the music play, lost in thought. When the melody finished, she opened her eyes and looked at Jack with something close to wonder. This song. I remember it," she whispered, almost to herself. "I have not heard this in many lifetimes." The court whispered nervously, but the Queen lifted her hand for silence. She studied Jack as if seeing him for the first time. "You must be the last human who knows this," she said softly, her voice full of memories. "Tell me, do you know the story behind this song?" Jack shook his head, feeling the weight of her words. He understood now that this simple gift was more important than he had ever guessed. The Queen looked at the music box again, then back at Jack, as if a new chapter was about to begin. The alien council members looked uneasy, but Jack knew something special had happened, something that would change everything. After the music box's soft song faded, the throne room remained silent. Queen Seraphil's golden eyes held a strange light, one of both sadness and hope. Jack felt a connection growing between them, deeper than words. The Queen finally spoke. "Long ago, before the great silence between our worlds, this melody was known by many. It was a song of friendship, a bond between humans and Century." Jack listened carefully, curiosity growing. "I did not know that, Your Majesty. Why did the bond end?" The Queen sighed. "A terrible war changed everything. Fear and distrust grew between our peoples. The music, the stories, all were forgotten. Only a few like me remember." She stood from her throne and walked slowly toward Jack, the room's glow following her movements like a gentle wave. "This gift you brought, it awakened something inside me, a memory buried deep in time." She smiled faintly. "Music is powerful. It speaks without words. It carries history and hope." Jack looked around the throne room, noticing how the nobles exchanged uneasy glances. Many of them had never heard this story, or if they had, they dared not speak of it now. "Why did you choose to bring this music box to me?" the Queen asked quietly, her eyes searching Jack's face. Jack took a deep breath. "I was sent by the Human Council to find a way to rebuild peace. I knew stories of the old bond, but this music box, I found it among my grandmother's things." She said it was from a time when humans and Centauri shared more than just space. They shared trust. The queen nodded slowly, touching the box gently. Your grandmother was wise to keep this safe. Few remember the past, but the past shapes our future. A soft sound echoed from the hallway, and a young Centauri noble entered. Your Majesty, the council awaits your decision. They grow anxious about this human's presence. Seraphal's expression hardened. Let them wait. Some truths are not ready to be heard. Turning back to Jack, she said, Come. I want to show you something. They moved to a quiet chamber behind the throne room, a place filled with ancient books and artifacts. The walls shimmered with holographic images of long-lost histories, stars, battles, and peaceful meetings between humans and Centauri. The queen reached for an old dusty book and opened it carefully. The pages showed pictures of humans and Centauri standing side by side, smiling and sharing knowledge. This was our promise once, she said softly. A promise of unity and friendship, but after the war, fear took hold. The galaxy forgot what we had. Jack's eyes widened. Why was the music forgotten, though? Why did the song disappear from both our worlds? The song was part of a pact, a symbol of trust, the queen explained. When trust was broken, the melody was silenced. It became a secret, known only to a few, almost lost forever. Jack placed his hand on the music box. Maybe it's time for the song to be heard again. The queen smiled, a flicker of hope shining through her tired eyes. Yes, Jack. Perhaps you are the one to remind the galaxy what was lost. But it will not be easy. Outside the chamber, distant voices of the council grew louder. Jack knew that whatever happened next, his mission was only beginning. The next morning, Jack woke early in the guest chambers of the Centauri Palace. His mind buzzed with everything he had learned so far. The music box, the forgotten song, and the queen's memories. It all felt like pieces of a puzzle waiting to be solved. A soft knock came at the door. It was Seraphil herself, dressed simply but with her usual calm grace. Come, she said quietly. There is something you must see. Jack followed her through winding corridors until they reached a hidden chamber, one that was not on any map he had seen. The room was dimly lit, filled with strange symbols glowing faintly on the walls. This is the Chamber of the Ancients, the queen explained. It holds the records of the pact between our peoples, made many centuries ago. In the center stood a large round pedestal. On it rested an ancient crystal, pulsing softly with light. The pact was sealed here, Seraphil said, her voice low. A promise of peace and cooperation between humans and Centauri. It was made to protect both worlds from outside threats. Jack stepped closer, feeling the crystal's warmth. Why was this pact forgotten? What broke it? The queen's face darkened. War, fear, greed. Our leaders grew distrustful. The galaxy changed, and so did we. Suddenly, the crystal glowed brighter, and images appeared around the room like a hologram. Jack saw human and Centauri leaders shaking hands, sharing technology, and celebrating together. Then the images shifted, ships in battle, destruction, and betrayal. This is the story of what was lost, Seraphil said sadly, but also of what can be found again. Jack watched closely as one image showed a human woman giving the queen a small music box. The same melody Jack's music box played. The queen looked at Jack, eyes shining. Your gift was not just a trinket, she said softly. It is the key to remembering the pact. Jack felt a chill run through him. If this pact is real, then maybe peace between our species can return. Seraphil nodded. That is what I hope. But many in my council do not agree. They see humans as threats. You must be careful. Jack's mind raced. If the pact was real, and the music box the key, then his mission was more important than ever. Tell me everything you know, Jack said. I want to understand the past, so we can build a better future. The queen gestured to the glowing symbols on the walls. These are the ancient words of the pact. Few can read them now, but with your knowledge of Earth and my memory, we may unlock their meaning. Together, they began to study the symbols, trying to connect the music, the crystal, and the ancient words. Outside, the palace remained quiet, but the seeds of a new alliance were planted, and the fate of two worlds rested in the hands of the last human who knew the song. After hours of studying the ancient symbols in the hidden chamber, Jack felt tired but determined. Queen Seraphil noticed his weariness and suggested a walk outside to the royal garden, a place few humans had ever seen. The garden was unlike anything Jack had imagined. Strange plants with glowing petals stretched toward the sky, and soft lights floated gently among the trees. The air smelled fresh, filled with scents he could not name. It felt like a sanctuary, a place where history lived quietly among the flowers. Many secrets of the Xanthari are kept here, the queen said softly, her eyes scanning the peaceful surroundings. This garden holds more than plants. It holds memories. Jack followed her along winding paths until they reached a small ancient tree standing alone in the center of a clearing. Its bark was silver, and its leaves shimmered with a faint blue light. This tree is called the Memory Tree, Seraphil explained. It records the stories of our people. When I was young, my first human friend taught me how to listen. Jack looked closely and saw small carvings on the trunk, symbols and words he did not understand. Your first human friend? Jack asked, surprised. The queen smiled, a gentle warmth in her eyes. Yes. Long ago, before the war, humans and Xanthari were close. My friend was a human named Ilara. She showed me Earth through stories and music. She gave me a gift, a music box like yours. Jack's heart quickened. Ilara. I think I've heard that name before. Seraphil nodded. She wrote a journal, but it was lost in the war. I have searched for it all my life. Suddenly, a soft wind blew through the garden, and a loose piece of bark fell from the memory tree. Jack picked it up and saw faded writing on it. Carefully, he brushed away the dust, revealing words in an ancient language. It's a message, Jack said, excitement growing. But I can't read it. The queen placed her hand over the carving and closed her eyes. After a moment, she opened them wide. This language is from the time of the pact. It tells of a promise. When the last human remembers, the future will bloom anew. Jack stared at the words, realizing the meaning. The song, the pact, the music box, they are all connected to this promise. Yes, Seraphil said. The garden keeps these memories safe. And now you have found one of the keys. Their peaceful moment was interrupted by distant footsteps. The queen's expression darkened. The council is growing impatient, she said quietly. They fear what you represent. They may try to stop us. Jack nodded. Then we must move carefully. But I want to find Ilara's journal. It might hold the truth that can bring peace back. Seraphil looked at Jack with trust and hope. Then we searched together. As the sun began to set, the royal garden glowed softly in twilight. Two worlds, once torn apart, were beginning to remember what they had lost and what they could regain. The palace buzzed with quiet tension as news of Jack's growing closeness to Queen Seraphil spread. The Xanthari Council, a group of powerful nobles who advised the queen, met in a grand chamber filled with sharp eyes and sharper words. Councillor Varick, the eldest and most stern member, spoke first. Your Majesty, this human's presence brings danger. Our people have suffered because of trust given to humans before. Why should we believe now will be different? Another councillor, sleek and cold, added, this music box, this old song, it may be a trick, a way to weaken our traditions and power. We must send him away before he causes more harm. Seraphil stood tall, her voice steady but firm. I have seen what this human carries. The music box is a symbol, yes, but more than that, it carries a memory we must not lose. Jack is not here to harm us. Councillor Varick's eyes narrowed. Your Majesty, with respect, you risk the stability of the Century Empire. The council advises you to dismiss this human visitor. The Queen's advisors looked among themselves, some nodding, others frowning. The atmosphere was heavy, filled with fear and old wounds. Later, Jack was summoned to the council chamber. The large room was cold and filled with Century nobles dressed in their finest robes. Jack's heart beat faster, but he kept calm. Queen Seraphil greeted him with a reassuring smile. "Stay strong, Jack." The council opened with questions meant to unsettle him. "Why should we trust a human?" one noble asked sharply. Jack answered honestly, "Because I come with a hope to rebuild what was lost. Because my people remember the past, even if others have forgotten." Another counselor sneered, "The past is buried for a reason. Your music box means nothing to us now." Jack looked around and said, "The music box holds a melody that once united us. It reminds us of peace, of friendship. If we forget that, we lose more than a song. We lose hope." The room fell silent. The Queen then stood and said, "Jack has opened a door to our history. We cannot ignore it." But not all voices agreed. A few counselors whispered among themselves, clearly uneasy. After the meeting, Seraphil spoke to Jack quietly. "Some fear change, but there are others who listen. We must find a way to show the truth to all." Jack nodded. "We need to find Ilara's journal. It might prove the pact is real and help convince them." The Queen's eyes shone with determination. "Then tomorrow we will search the palace archives." As Jack left the council chamber, he felt the weight of the challenge ahead. The council's opposition was strong, but the spark of hope was still alive. He looked back at the throne room where Seraphil waited. Together, they would fight to bring peace back to two worlds long divided. Early the next day, Jack and Queen Seraphil made their way to the palace archives. The air was cool, and the halls were quiet except for their footsteps echoing on the polished floors. The archives were a vast room, filled with rows of glowing data crystals and ancient scrolls. "This place holds many secrets," Seraphil said softly, "but some are hidden for a reason." Jack nodded. "We have to find Ilara's journal. It could change everything." They searched through piles of records, some covered in dust, others protected by ancient locks. Hours passed as Jack's hope slowly grew. Then, behind a large tapestry depicting a forgotten battle, Seraphil discovered a small door hidden in the wall. It was sealed with strange symbols. "This must be it," she whispered. Using her knowledge of ancient scripts, the Queen carefully unlocked the door. It creaked open, revealing a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. Jack lit a small hand lamp, and they began to descend. The air grew cooler, and the walls shimmered faintly with glowing markings. At the bottom, they entered a hidden chamber. The room was small but filled with treasures from a distant past. Old weapons, star maps, and in the center, a dusty chest. Seraphil approached the chest with reverence. "This place holds memories of the Alliance." Jack helped her open it. Inside lay scrolls, books, and a small leather-bound journal. Jack's eyes caught the journal first. He reached out and carefully opened it. The pages were yellowed but still clear. On the first page, a drawing of a human woman smiled back at them. "Ilara," Seraphil said softly, her voice full of emotion. At last, Jack began to read aloud from the journal. Ilara wrote about her friendship with the Queen, their hopes for peace, and the importance of the music box, a symbol of trust and unity. The journal also contained details of the ancient pact, the promises made, and the dangers that led to the war. "This is proof," Jack said with conviction. "Proof that we once stood together." Seraphil nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "Now the question is, will the council listen?" Before they could speak more, distant footsteps echoed above. The Queen's face hardened. "We are not alone." Suddenly, the hidden chamber door began to close, as if an unseen force tried to trap them inside. Jack and Seraphil rushed forward and pushed the door open just in time. They hurried up the stairs and back into the archives. "We must act quickly," Seraphil said. "This journal could change everything, but there are those who want to keep the past buried." Jack clenched his fist. "Then we show it to the council. We show them the truth." Seraphil smiled with fierce determination. "Together, we will remind the galaxy of the bond that once was, and can be again." Outside, the palace buzzed with uncertainty, but inside, hope was growing stronger with every secret uncovered. The palace council chamber was filled with tension. Queen Seraphil sat calmly on her throne, while Jack stood beside her, holding Ilara's journal tightly. The nobles around them whispered among themselves, some curious, others doubtful. Councillor Varric stepped forward, his eyes cold. "Your Majesty, this human dares to bring old stories back, stories that divide us. Why should we trust this book or this visitor?" Seraphil's voice was steady. "Because this journal is proof of our shared past, a past that holds the key to peace between our peoples." Jack opened the journal and read aloud. Ilara wrote of a pact between humans and Centauri, sealed with a music box, a symbol of trust and friendship. Some counselors scoffed, but others listened closely. One young noble whispered, "If this is true, why was it hidden?" Seraphil replied, "Because fear and war made us forget. But now, it is time to remember." The council voted on whether to accept Jack's presence and the possibility of restoring the pact. The room was divided. Some feared change and wanted to send Jack away. Others saw hope in the old words. Suddenly, a group of counselors stood, demanding a trial for Jack. They claimed he had broken ancient laws by bringing forbidden relics and stirring unrest. Seraphil's eyes flashed with anger. "Jack is not an enemy. He carries the memory of our people's unity. I stand with him." The Queen's support shocked many. A heated debate followed, voices rising and falling like waves. Jack knew this was the moment to prove himself. "I ask only for a chance to show you the truth. Let me play the music box before you all." The council hesitated, then agreed. Jack opened the music box. Its gentle melody filled the chamber. The notes moved through the air like a soft breeze, touching the hearts of those present. Whispers of recognition spread. Some counselors looked moved, others surprised. Seraphil spoke. "This song was once a promise. It reminds us who we are, and who we can be again." The council's mood began to shift. The oldest counselor, Varric, looked thoughtful. "Perhaps it is time to reconsider." But even as some softened, others remained wary. The Queen raised her hand. "This is only the beginning. We must explore our past fully to build a better future." Jack nodded. "I am ready to help." After the meeting, Seraphil took Jack aside. "You have passed the first test, but there are still many who do not trust us." Jack smiled. "Then we keep moving forward, together." Outside the chamber, the palace halls seemed less cold. A spark of hope had been lit. The last human who knew the ancient song had earned a place, and a chance to change history. The council chamber buzzed with quiet tension as Jack prepared to play the music box once again. This time, every noble was watching carefully, waiting to see if the ancient melody could truly touch their hearts. Jack took a deep breath and opened the small box. The soft melody began to play, filling the room with its gentle notes. The music was simple but beautiful, a song that carried the weight of history and hope. As the melody floated through the air, something unexpected happened. Some council members closed their eyes, memories stirring deep within them. The oldest among them, Councillor Varric, showed a flicker of emotion. His usual stern face softened. One young noble whispered, "I remember this from stories my grandmother told me." Another nodded slowly. This was our bond with humans, forgotten, but never gone. Queen Seraphil watched carefully, her eyes shining with quiet pride. This song is more than music. It is a bridge between our worlds. Suddenly, the chamber doors opened, and a group of hostile counselors stormed in. They were angry that the old pact was being discussed openly. One of them tried to seize the music box from Jack. Quickly, Seraphil stepped forward, her voice strong. Enough. This is a moment of remembrance, not conflict. The hostile counselors hesitated, seeing the Queen's resolve. Slowly, they backed away, but their eyes still held distrust. Jack closed the music box gently. We cannot change the past overnight, but this song shows we once had hope. It can guide us again. The room fell silent. Then, a quiet murmur spread, a sign that hearts were beginning to open. Seraphil spoke to the council. I declare a day of remembrance, a time for all Xanthari to learn our shared history with humans. It will be a new beginning. Some counselors nodded in agreement, while others remained silent but thoughtful. After the meeting, Jack and Seraphil walked through the palace gardens. The night was calm, stars shining above. We have made progress, the Queen said softly, but many challenges remain. Jack smiled. I believe the song can heal old wounds. We just need time. Seraphil looked at him with hope. And together, we will build a future where humans and Xanthari stand as allies once more. Jack felt a new strength within him. The last human who knew the ancient melody had helped open a door to peace and friendship between two worlds. The day of remembrance dawned bright and clear over the Xanthari capital. Banners bearing the ancient symbol of the pact fluttered in the gentle breeze, and the city's citizens gathered in the great plaza, curious and hopeful. Queen Seraphil stood on a raised platform, the music box resting beside her. Jack stood nearby, feeling the weight of the moment. The Queen's voice carried strong and clear as she addressed the crowd. Long ago, humans and Xanthari shared friendship, knowledge, and peace, she began. A terrible war tried to erase that bond, but it was never truly lost. Today, we remember. She held up the music box. This melody was a promise of trust between our peoples. As the music box played its gentle tune, a holographic image appeared above the platform. It showed scenes from the past, humans and Xanthari working together, sharing discoveries, celebrating life. Gasps and murmurs spread through the crowd. Many had never seen this part of their history before. Seraphil's voice grew softer but full of emotion. I was once young, and I met a human named Ilara. She was my friend. She taught me the meaning of hope and trust. Her story was almost lost, but thanks to one who carries the last memory of that time, it lives again. Jack stepped forward and opened the ancient journal. He read aloud Ilara's words about friendship, courage, and the desire for peace. Suddenly, a shout came from the edge of the crowd. A group of dissenters, unhappy with this remembrance, began to argue loudly. They want to weaken the empire. One cried, humans are our enemies. Seraphil raised her hand for silence. Peace is not weakness, it is strength, and it is our future. Her words quieted the crowd. Slowly, some of the dissenters lowered their voices. Jack looked at the Queen, admiration shining in his eyes. You faced them bravely. Seraphil smiled. It is my duty. Our people must see the truth. Later, as the crowd dispersed, Seraphil took Jack aside. There will always be those who resist change. But today, we opened a new chapter. Jack nodded. We showed them a future worth fighting for. The Queen's eyes sparkled with hope. Together, we will heal the wounds of the past and build a lasting alliance. Under the clear sky, two worlds stood united, not by force, but by memory, music, and trust. Jack knew the journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, hope was real. The palace was alive with celebration. After years of silence and fear, the Xanthari and humans were beginning to heal old wounds. Flags of both worlds fluttered side by side, and the streets were filled with music and laughter. Jack stood beside Queen Seraphil in the great hall, holding the music box carefully. The Queen smiled warmly at him. You have done more than I ever hoped, she said softly. You must be the last human who knows this song, but now you are not alone. Jack nodded. It feels like a new chapter for both our worlds. The Queen turned to the crowd gathered to witness the ceremony. Today, we restore the ancient pact. We welcome humans back into Xanthari space, not as strangers, but as allies and friends. Cheers erupted through the hall. The council, once divided, stood united with the Queen and Jack. Later, Jack walked through the palace gardens, the music box's melody still playing softly in his mind. The royal garden seemed brighter, full of life and hope. He thought of Ilara, the human who had first given the Queen the gift of trust. Her memory had brought them to this moment. Suddenly, Queen Seraphil appeared beside him. "This is only the beginning," she said. "There is much to rebuild, many bridges to repair." Jack smiled. "But together, we can do it." She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You carry a heavy responsibility, but also great hope. The last human who knows this song will help ensure it is never forgotten again." Jack looked up at the stars shining above. For the first time, he saw a future where humans and Xanthari would stand side by side, exploring the galaxy together. The music box chimed softly, a reminder of the past and a promise for the future. As the celebration continued, Jack felt a quiet peace settle over him. He had brought a simple gift, but it had opened the hearts of an entire empire. The Queen's words echoed in his mind. "You must be the last human who knows this, but now you are not alone." With hope in his heart and the music in his soul, Jack stepped forward into a new dawn, for humanity, for Xanthar, and for the stars beyond.